Well, surprise! I am like a
What?
bad penny.
Wait a
I'm
minute.
back.
Wait a minute.
I know I wasn't supposed to be here till end of the week, but my hearing was moved from tonight to next Wednesday night. So I'm just swapping nights out. But in the interim, I did take some of my continuing legal education courses,
Oh,
Michael. And I
that's
thought
good.
instead of, well, maybe I should put my continuing legal education courses in the Rip and Read. I think I'll do that instead.
All right, then. Well, I think I thought you were in the witness protection program, but here you are. You just popped right up. Let's get into it.
Justice, where are you? Michael and Linda are here.
Love you, Linda.
The world is justice. Will we ever find justice?
The courthouse the other day in the hallway, you're singing
Will
"Oh
we
Happy
know
Day."
justice when we see it? To be and down me, I lead the way. Hoping justice will win the day. It's Nary Clues, finding justice where we can. Join us now, we're on the run. Justice is waiting, we'll see it done.
And welcome along, everybody. Good to have you. We're going to have a Where in the World is Justice when I figure one out, because this is not my office, you may have noticed, and it's not the mobile studio. But where it is, I cannot tell you, because I think tomorrow night we'll do a Where in the World is Justice. So, partner, surprised to see you. I'm sorry your matter was continued, but good to have you along.
Nice to be here, Michael Bryant. And I knew you were traveling, and I wanted to make all efforts to get on and help with you. And I even pulled in some video to use. So,
Ooh, wow.
physician's assistant Negri, and I told everyone to start looking up how you convert centimeters, depending on how you say it, to inches. So that's a clue.
All I know is it's 2.54. Isn't it 2.54? Right?
Well, we're gonna test you. We're gonna
Okay.
test
All
you
right.
out.
That's all I
Okay.
remember from about
Yeah.
years and years of math.
And I will not be here next Wednesday night because my meeting was moved, and we have been prepping. And of course, things happen. You know,
They do. And tomorrow you're gone, and Lori Mullen will be here.
Okay.
We have that right?
Yep.
Sir? Okay.
Yep.
And we have Karen Goldberg tonight. Everybody is, in fact, I may just quit because she is amazing, and we would not miss a beat if I just wandered off.
Yeah,
but
Karen. Wait a second, Karen. I may offer Karen like my permanent like when I can't come in to be with you.
A permanent
my permanent substitute
replacement host.
Well,
Wow.
you can't replace me. Okay.
Well, no.
You can't replace me, but you could have a substitute host.
And the money is whoo. Wow. Okay.
Can't
So,
beat it.
Are we doing some rip and read stuff? Is that happening?
Yes, we have two rip and read stuff. One of them.
Stand by.
Okay.
Stand by. Wait.
Okay,
All right,
so
then.
one I'm going to start with is kind of funny because today, because I had a little extra time, I completed my CLE, my continuing legal education courses that I have to do for both New Jersey and New York. And I learned something that I wanted to share with all of you. Here's something that if you do a deposition, which is questions that occur in the course of discovery in a lawsuit, and sometimes they can get
Under
pretty
oath.
heated, under oath, and they can get pretty heated with the other counsel. We've all had situations, those of you who are lawyers, were really, really heated, especially when I have found when it's male to female, in my experience. That may not be all the case. Well, here's something that I learned that you can't do because you have to take this ethics course. Remember, we're licensed professionals, so our license has to be renewed. We don't have First Amendment freedom of speech when we're in a licensed situation such as a deposition. All right. So if the other side, who happens to be a male, is really making you angry and you do this, you would say to me, Linda, why are you?
Linda, what the hell's going on?
Why are you under the table? I can't come back and say to you, because I was looking to see what you have between your legs, because obviously you don't have any in the deposition. All right. You can't say that. Okay.
Wow.
That will get you a strike and a report. All right.
That was not the correct answer. Okay.
That was not the correct answer. The only other person who ever did something like that was my partner, Bruce Cutler. And it wasn't my partner, but I had him in the Spectre case for a while. When he was in the John Gotti case, he went under the desk like this. And they said, well, what are you looking for? Why are you doing that? He said, well, I'm looking for the proof to prove the indictment. You don't seem to have any government. That you can do. That you can do.
Okay. All right. So we've talked about it before. These ethical questions, I'm confident I could pass any ethics test right now without studying, without prepping, because I think you're either ethical or you're not. And I think those that are not ethical, they can study all they want. it ain't going to help when you're presented with those fact patterns. I think you either get it or you don't. But that's
The
me.
problem is we have to do this continually education
Yes.
every year. Anyhow, then that was the funny one because since I was here and I kid about annoying you, but this is the serious one. You all have seen Perez Hilton, who a lot of people thought he was a nudge and destroyed people's career. Well, last night, I'm not going to tell you to go look at it, but there was something that was very disturbing posting on TikTok concerning his mental health. And I understand in Florida, he has been Baker Act. There was a woman who saw him. He did post his telephone number, and apparently the police were called. The police lowered the situation down because they don't want to have anything happen, like they would kill him accidentally, like they do sometimes when they get into these situations with mental health people who are disturbed and acting out. Family took over, and apparently he has been in Florida what they call Baker Act. Okay, don't watch it, but my point is that this is as a result of a psychosis, no doubt about it. All right, and it goes to show you how psychosis can take over. You can be okay 1 minute, and the next minute, boom, if it's in there and you have the ability to have a psychosis because of whatever, because of drugs, because of mental health, because of postpartum depression that converts into a psychosis, that it can cause you to do horrific, horrible, and terrible things on the spur of the moment. So please take your mental health seriously. And we're going to take this case, Clancy, very seriously, because this case is teaching us a lot about mental health.
Yeah, and so much more to come. We haven't really touched on the real meat yet. I posted something today. I was fooling around a bit with one of the witnesses yesterday, and one of those, who would play this person if we have a movie? Because I got distracted because so many of these witnesses that are relatively unimportant.
Not
Yeah.
relevant, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So, but we are now getting much closer to what should be the guts of this case. So,
And then my final and third rip and read, because it's really a disclosure, not a rip and read. A lot of times I learn things on the internet. I learn things I don't have a Twitter account right now, although somebody may show me a Twitter account because I've never been able to gain control. And next time my $5 comes around to pay for my check mark or whatever it is, $8, I'm going to have to dispute it since I don't have a Twitter account or X account that works. It's still selling cryptocurrency from what I understand. But I understand there has been a motion in the Sandra Birchmore case. Now, I disclose that because my husband, Dr. Michael Baden, was hired by the civil attorneys. If you recall, we've discussed it on this show many times, and he concluded that the case was homicide. Now, he doesn't conclude who does it. He just concludes it's homicide. Well, I did see some filing in the federal government about there are two experts that's under seal, and one of them was a doctor, I think it was Smock, right? Smock? Right. And one of them is a Dr. Michael Baden. So thank you, honey, for disclosing to me, because you didn't. And now I'm disclosing it on the air that I have seen it on Twitter because it had to be shown to me. All right. Hopefully you'll make us proud.
You're not chatting about these things. That's the point, and that's the way it should be. So, what's the nature? Oh, it's sealed, so we don't know what the nature of the.
I had no idea. I mean, so it's some kind of Twitter account. So you're going to have to research that, Michael Bryant.
Okay, I'll look right into that. That's coming up October 5th. So, and by the way, the trial brief, which I mentioned yesterday, the 49-pager that has been put together by the prosecution, is worthy of an episode. I may do that this weekend. So, just a little heads up, that's coming. Needs a little more time to get into than we have tonight. So, today, I was not in court, and was really, it was difficult to even watch what was going on. I knew there were not a lot of witnesses today, and then I felt bad. I thought, well, Karen Goldberg's going to go there, and it's like a half day. But based on the notes that I've seen from Joy Schmehar, thank you, Joy, the nanny taking the stand was worth the price of admission. So with all of that in mind, let's bring in our Just to Serve TV correspondent.
Hello.
Highly paid professional, Karen Goldberg. Karen, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Let me know if I get glitchy. I'll move. I'm at the beach. So
you're at the beach. Well, you know what, Karen? Well, you're on for the moment. I have to attend to something, so I'm going to just jump off, and I'll jump right back on.
Yes, ma'am. I'll take it.
That's right. And I'm going to get out of here too. Bye-bye. No.
All right. So I'll take over.
When I heard yesterday it was going to be a short day, and it sounded like another day of the same, I thought, well, are you going to make it in there? But I'm glad you did, because let's hit the low points before we hit the high points. Talk about
there were a few
witnesses. Yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
So first witness was the PA Negri. Discussed he sutured the lacerations on the wrist.
Okay.
The Commonwealth again downplayed her injuries. Well, you didn't have to do surgery, did you? And look, she needed sutures. And then they came back to argue, well, what does deep mean? Does deep mean across? Does deep mean up, lateral? And they are just really doing a disservice to women's health in general, especially when it comes to postpartum care. I don't care. I understand that there is controversy around this case, but their whole case, is it real? Is it not real? Just really does such a disservice to women.
I was wondering about that when they went into the pictures and the measurements that were taken by one of the private
Right.
healthcare professionals. I said, what does deep mean? What does that mean?
Right.
Did we learn anything today as to what that means?
So that means it has to go through more than the top 2 layers of skin. And also that it has to be, I believe, lateral, which is interesting. I actually didn't know that, but that's not the point. They still needed attention and care and to be sutured on both sides.
Yes. Yeah.
And then,
okay.
defend Kevin Reddington, who is amazing to watch in person. Even more protective of her in person than you would see on TV. I don't know if anyone can notice from the angle of the camera, but sometimes he kind of sits sideways. This is something I've noticed now, where he's sort of protecting her from everybody. And I don't know if it's subconscious or he's, doing it, but it's something that I've definitely picked up on. He says, well, was she going to get up and walk out after you sutured her? Because they're making it sound like, oh, she's just there hanging out. You could actually see one of the chest tubes in the picture when they showed her sutures actively draining. And I don't know how many picked up on that, but my eyes went to that instead of the sutures, which.
Okay. And again, it's all in the context of police officers in and around the room. I think it's been unclear whether somebody's been in the room at a given time. That's been an issue, but certainly outside the room, because they don't want her to hop up out of bed and run away, apparently.
Which is like,
that would be a miracle.
Severed spine. Right.
Yeah.
I believe that it would be, yeah. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
We'd have a whole different story going on.
That would be a very different story.
Right.
Okay. So that was helpful, you think? The jury react in any way?
They were actually pretty stoic. Kind of, it was first thing in the morning. They all came dressed nice. They had their notes out. They weren't really giving a lot of
feedback.
face.
Yeah. How about Dapper Dan? Dapper Dan still in the suit?
Yeah, but like colors today, like not a regular suit. Yeah, I think it might have been like a vest type of thing with a tie, like a tie.
Of course. Okay.
Little monochromatic, very nice.
Okay.
He continues to. They all look good.
For those who don't know, this is the guy who's about in the middle of the back row. Who has been from day one sharply dressed. So
very sharply
dressed. I call
dressed.
him Dapper Dan. Yeah.
I love it. I actually learned today that allegedly, it is believed, a couple of the jurors are nurses.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I heard that.
So let's talk about that real quickly and how that.
Yes.
Well, to use a phrase, how that cuts. I would think it's helpful to the defense. Thoughts?
I do too, because I think that everybody knows the nurses do all the work. They are the ones literally hands-on from the time they go on to the time they're done. Then the doctors, the PAs, everybody kind of rotates in, checks on stuff, but the nurses are there the whole time. I feel like they must know how educated she has been, how much she worked up until this. They'll have a much better understanding of what actual postpartum psychosis is and hopefully mental health in general. So if they end up on the jury, I believe that would help the defense.
And as folks may know, during deliberations, it's not improper to talk to somebody who has expertise in a given field. They can't provide evidence, and they can't do their own experimentation, but they can explain things.
Which would be certainly helpful.
Sure.
It would be very, very helpful for that. And so, and you never know because they choose by, I don't even know how they're going to, sometimes looks like
the lottery system.
Yeah, the lottery system.
Yeah.
Next up, you know what? I forgot about that one. After he testified, Reddington wanted to enter a couple of pieces of paper to the paper records on the record, and the Commonwealth jumps right up and like, no, we don't need to do, objection. We have it on disc. And Reddington made a great point. He doesn't want them to have to look through, hundreds or 800, I think I heard yesterday or the day before, pieces of paper to find just the 2 that he needs for this one. And I think that's actually really helpful. I like paper stuff in front of me. I like to be able to go through it.
And I
Right?
understand it can get cumbersome and they therefore put it on there electronically. But what are the odds they're going to really look at it if it's something they have to sift through on a disc
Right.
versus here's this. Here, take a look at this. Let's flip through this. I just think that tacit feel to it makes it much more likely they're going to dig into it.
Absolutely. They can pass it around. It's just readily available and there's no effort to really go through it.
Yeah.
I'm glad that got in. I think that would have been strange if they didn't.
And what were they generally? What were the pages?
Those were the 2, or I think they were about 2 pages of from the PA, basically the hospital notes that he wrote when he saw her to do the sutures.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
So, kind of needed.
It's just it synthesizes what the important stuff, and that's his job.
Exactly.
And they're trying to bury it, like it's the Ford Pinto case where they just provide 82 boxes and one document somewhere in there. Yeah.
I mean, I will never forget him walking up on Monday with 3 big, all of her records and just slamming them down in front of the desk and saying, I want the paper ones admitted. And, Commonwealth was like, we have a disc. And he's like, yeah, I've got the paper. So they also have it in the paper of like 800 records. So,
okay. I wonder how that's going to change in the future as you kids get in there, kids on the bench. They're going to be like, oh, no, I think a disc is fine, dude.
It'll be on it'll be on the screen. It'll be in the air. One of those, we can just flip through it in the
be
air.
A little hologram.
Right. That's what I picture. Just like,
Yes.
oh, that one might be easier actually. Next up was the state police. I believe he now works somewhere else, but his name is Nicholas Roberts, Maine State Police Lab toxicologist, talking about the drugs in her system. He was there for the testing, talked about which meds they can test and then what they have to send out to something called the NMS lab.
National Medical Services. It's the lab that I use in all my cases.
Everybody
Sometimes.
loves NMS labs.
Yeah.
Everybody
National
Medical
speaks very
Services,
highly of them.
They've testified for me, inspector. They've done all the work I did in Casey Anthony. They are the best in the country, maybe the best in the world.
He kind of mentioned that. He basically
Mike Reeder's father started it, and they're in Pennsylvania, and they're fabulous.
Yes. Oh, good. Because he seemed pretty educated. So he came next after first we're still on Nicholas Roberts. He was the one that was from the state police toxicology lab. And then whatever he couldn't figure out and they didn't have the ability to do there went off to NMS. So he kind of talked a lot about just kind of what was in the system, all the PAMs again, basically. And then one of the 2, it may have been him. They talked about Narcan because she was Narcaned. And
which I found to be interesting since it has no impact on benzodiazepines.
Right.
And the EMT that talked about it made it sound like, well, we just do this for everybody. That's what it sounded like.
I think it's actually more routine if you come across someone who seems to be out of it. And there's a potential for it because it can save a life if you get it in time. So my guess is they probably at this point do it for most people. I know they do it in Maine, where I am, pretty standard, and a lot of people carry it with them now.
Yeah.
But they did
have
go
it in my town. They had it in my town. They were giving it away so that you could keep it in the house in case.
Yeah,
right?
I find that so scary these days. That hey, in case you happen to have a friend or somebody that's drugged out, take this and carry it with you all the time.
Keep it in your pocket. That just shows the whole other problem that we have going on constantly. So they just kind of explained that basically, like, it only works for opioids. These aren't opioids. So he was done. He was very nice. Then they moved on to the NMS lab gentleman who was, let's see, he is Justin Brower, forensic toxicologist, very smart man. You could tell he knew what he was talking about. He sort of went over like all of the other medication, what they test for, how much of each one was in the system. And then it was interesting because I think it was Reddington that said you wouldn't, like, something to the effect, and don't quote me, that you wouldn't want to make kind kind of like an expert opinion on, was she, in some kind of like psychosis, or was the medicine causing anything? And he did say, no, you would need more information than just what her blood test shows for the level of medication, which for me became, that was my big commentary today on Twitter. I am a big proponent of every body reacts differently to every substance. And a one size fits all has always been one of the major things, but it's not always that effective. So especially in a case where we're talking about a life that took lives, excuse me, I think this is like something very important that maybe they should get into a little more. How does her personal body react to different medications? Because I know I am a hypermetabolizer of SSRIs. That means that my body would metabolize them a lot faster than, say, maybe Linda or Michael, where I might, or take a Tylenol, for instance, and then in 2 hours, I'm like, why is my head hurting again? Whereas it could last for 4 hours for someone else. That's really important, because that's going to affect how you are every time you take a medication. How long does it last? Do you need more of something than a regular person would? And then things like epigenetics, which is what the environment does to change. So the whole thing is, they don't really go into that. And that always bothers me, because this is such an important, they've already stipulated to this, a lot of this stuff, DNA and other certain things. It's like, maybe we could concentrate on, just bring that up a little bit, because
I think
that's
the
a little bit of reasonable doubt.
I think you're going to be much happier when the defense does their thing.
Me too, because of that
they're
bag.
Get into that.
The drawer of meds that we keep going back to makes me think that perhaps Reddington already asked, why didn't anybody find these meds? Like yesterday or Monday when they were talking to the state police officer that went through the med, like, how come you guys didn't find this box? How can you find this drawer? And he has the drawer. He's carrying around the drawer of meds.
Why didn't anybody open that drawer? I don't know.
Has sleep aids. Yeah. Well, I don't know. We didn't see it. And then
and
Apple Watch.
The meds. Did you guys go over the meds? It's Remeron, which is mirtazapine, Lamictal, Seroquel, the antipsychotic, Trazodone, which we discussed in the show a lot, lorazepam, and diazepam. So
yes, yeah,
and they found the metabolites of a lot of these. That's how they found the drugs, right?
Right. Which is the
breakdown. The breakdown
after your body starts to metabolize.
So you could have both the drug and the metabolite. It doesn't mean you have two substances. It's just two. You've just started breaking it down. Moments of that drug. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Then came a DNA person who Reddington, after a few minutes, is like, didn't we stipulate to this, basically? And he's kind of like, mumbling under his breath, and he's just like, what are we talking about this gobbledygook for? Like, it was.
I know. And he knows everybody on that jury and everybody watching, other than the prosecution, feels the exact same way.
Oh, yes. You could tell.
He has his finger on the pulse of what the people in the room, and presumably the audience out here, is looking at and getting. Prosecution seems to have no clue.
It's very, very mind-blowing. It's like they're tone deaf for the whole thing. They're doing all of these little things that everyone else is picking up on, and they don't seem to be picking up on. So, for instance, the jury started laughing when he's like, we stipulated to this, like, hello, what about the D? He's like, hello, and he says, under his breath, and the judge then, so he objects, and then the prosecution's like, I object to his objection. Now they're all laughing, and then the judge is like, sidebar, and the whole jury literally went.
Yeah.
Everybody
like, let's watch them fight.
It was a collective, everybody laughed, and their faces were all like, ooh, they're in trouble.
So is this the first time you've really seen that in the courtroom? Because I know when Michael, you were there, you said they were pretty stoic. Even
as Karen has said, so a moment like that would be very noticeable.
It was so noticeable, because up until then, they were extremely stoic. You'd have a couple looking around. There's a couple that are like, they check every time.
The handsome woman. She looks around a lot.
Yes, she does. And
top
the person
row,
next
second from the left. Yes.
Very, very nicely dressed today as well. Always has her hair beautifully done. No bows, just
no bows. Well, speaking of bows, what's the bow count on the prosecution today?
She has a new bow every day.
This is not Sprague.
Buckingham.
Yeah, she's
I always think of
got
Lindsey
quite
Buckingham.
she has quite
No,
the
I
bow collection.
Yes, and
Yeah.
matching ballet flats. So this is
I would
interesting.
not put ballet flats on her, but that's just me. Okay.
I've been watching. I'm just like, so I've read a lot of
I'm
things
sorry,
on
but this sartorial discussion is kind of like not in my
Hey,
sphere.
this is fashion. We're doing fashion now. Come
That's
on.
what
No,
I said,
but
sartorial discussion.
sorry, this is editorial. Online, a lot of people on all platforms are discussing the bow. This has become a very hot topic. Is it appropriate for court? Is she doing it to infantize herself or bring to light Cora being a
but
girly
you know what?
girl?
I'm sorry. I'm going to defend her in this. They never discuss that with men. They never say, "Well, he's."
I
Wearing
was
a
going to
black
say
suit.
that.
They never say he's wearing a brown suit. What kind of tie?
No.
It's always women, and so I'm going to defend.
I
her
was
on that.
annoyed by that today. I actually am with you 200%. I was going to say it's actually, I believe at this point, just her style. She's not doing
That's what
anything
I think.
extra.
And I'd said that early on that I look at them, I don't see them as fashion plates, but I can see
No.
that as being their little nod to some sort of personal signature. So
Yeah.
it
I mean, I
doesn't
wear
bother
pearls
me.
every day. This is
Do
my,
you wear you wear pearls every day?
It doesn't matter if I come out of the ocean, the bathroom, the kitchen, the farming. I don't really farm. I always feel fancy. Like it's just, it started as a joke and now I just literally have kept it on.
So did Chanel. Chanel wore pearls every day. Also, I would
Oh.
remind you. Okay, since we're talking
okay.
a
Do you
little.
do much
we moved a little
clutching?
fast.
Any clutching?
No, but I probably
No?
caused clutching. No.
Okay.
yeah.
Any grave concerns?
Many grave concerns.
All right.
Vigorous.
Did you
Okay.
talk about physician's assistant Negri, who was the
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
I have his testimony up to play a little bit.
Oh, you want to play a bit of that? Okay.
Yeah, and this is the part that I'm was interested in. You may all not be interested. Let me see if I got to add it to the stage, and then hold on a second. I have to play it from my Michael Bryant. Maybe learn this stuff, okay? Because he's on the road. Let me see if you can hear this, okay? Can you hear this?
It
No,
sounds
you
very
can't
low,
hear
if
it?
anything.
Pretty low.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can't hear that, right?
Mm,
No,
No?
just pretty low.
no.
It's pretty low. Okay, let me see if I can make it louder. All right, now if we have to play it from here. No?
No.
I hear nothing. Are you playing it as a video file or a share?
No, it's up there. It's on the share in the screen. There it is. So I can remove it again and try it again. We're going to add it to the stage. All right. It's in my sharing of the screen. I've already shared the screen. Okay. StreamYard is sharing a window. That's the window right there. I have the sound all the way up on the window.
Yes.
And I then play the window instead of there. And it should be over there. No?
No. We got
but
nothing.
you're doing it all right. You're not
doing all right.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
it's
I mean, the only
louder.
two options are you bring it in as a video file or a share screen. Those are the two
I
options.
brought it in as a share screen. Yeah.
Okay.
Because
Well,
that's what I
Linda, you
usually
really
do.
know how to put the skids on the show. Okay.
Okay. All right. So we'll just keep him up there a second. The reason why
Yeah.
he's my favorite, and you tell me, and my favorite, I don't mean in favorites. I thought the very important testimony, which really to me, if I'm sitting on the jury, I don't want to hear from the prosecution anymore. She had a very severe slash on her right wrist. Okay.
Mhm.
Right. And I'm going to ask Karen what the jury was reaction when you find out that the slash on her right wrist went over an inch deep, 1 1/8 inch deep. Okay.
Yeah.
That's take your wrist. Everybody out there watching, take your wrist. Here's mine. All right. And take an inch down, and just an inch. And it's actually, there's more than that. And the slash on the right wrist is more than that,
Oops,
an
there
inch
we
and an eighth. Right.
Yeah.
Just
That's
think about
almost-
that. That's almost like decapitating your wrist.
Well, that's
I
why
don't know.
that's why I'm very confused about this, because it came up with the other healthcare provider that was describing in their notes
Yes.
the deep cuts, and they put a measurement on there. I think 3.5 centimeters.
Yes.
And I said, well, that's 2.5 centimeters in an inch. That's more than they must mean just the length of the laceration.
No, he was talking about depth.
Because you're exactly right. That makes no sense.
Mhm.
That's a wrist about to fall off.
Yeah,
Right.
he said it was depth, but apparent depth, it was very clear, and that the other ones were very superficial, but he was talking about depth. So that's a very severe slash. That's the one that needed
Very.
stitches. That's the one that
So,
needed
yeah.
sutures. and
3 of them.
stitches.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's
Which is
pretty
actually
extreme.
a lot for a wrist. It's like when you think of even if you get a cut on your head and you need it sutured, you usually get 1, maybe 2. 3 is actually a lot, and they showed the picture of it. They
Yeah.
actually physically showed it, and I'm glad they did because that gave them more of a visual. And also, I was talking about that they kept downplaying this, really, really downplaying this,
Right.
which is such a disservice to what actually happened. Her trying to end her life, and this is not. But they're playing it off, and I can tell you that I think everyone is noticing that they're like exceptionally downplaying. Also, the word superficial, because
That's right.
Kevin Reddington said, "You met with the Commonwealth, haven't you?" And they, you've talked a lot about superficial, superficial, superficial. So he said it 3 times and emphasized. And the jury, there were some people nodding, like, "Okay, we get it. Yeah, we're getting this."
Yeah,
So
they're beating
Joy
that to death. There's no doubt.
Joy has this pulled up on her screen. We can try it again, Joy. See if it's at the same place, because I'm not playing the whole thing. I'm just playing from. It's about 325 on. Not the whole thing. You got to go to about 325 where I was, and let's see if we can listen to it. And then maybe
the trauma burn surgical ICU. Now I'm going to draw your attention to a particular patient that came into the Brigham and Women's Hospital on January 24th of 2023. That patient was Lindsay Clancy. Do you recall encountering this patient on January 25th of 2023?
Yes.
And what did you do as it pertained to the care and treatment of this patient?
I received the information from the shift before me, formulated a plan, examined her, assessed her, staffed that plan with the attending physician, and executed that plan throughout the day.
And fair to say this particular patient had injuries that you were directed to observe, review, form that plan on?
Correct.
What were the injuries?
She had multiple injuries. The most acute were injuries that were requiring consultation with other services, and the ones that I directly managed were the lacerations to her wrists and just her wrists, actually.
And as far as when you say she had other acute injuries, you were not involved in the care of her for those, correct?
I was involved in the care that involved consulting other services to manage those things, yes.
Okay, and as far as any sort of repair work that you were doing as a physician's assistant working with the trauma surgeons, what repair work were you assigned to do?
Laceration repair.
And on this particular patient, where were the injuries or lacerations that you were going to repair?
She had multiple lacerations on both of her wrists. She had superficial on her neck, which I did not repair.
Okay. And as it pertains to the wrists, did you go through that process of observing, reviewing, coming up with a plan, and then repairing those injuries?
Yes.
And were you directed to do that by any particular doctor?
Not necessarily directed. A lot of those things fall within my scope, and since they were less acute, they kind of fell down the chain to me.
Okay. And you're aware that she was being seen and treated by a host of other doctors, nurses, an entire team?
Yes.
As it pertains to the wrist injuries, what did you do to examine those areas?
The first thing I do is assess the location, then I assess the severity, whether it requires intervention by someone other than myself. In this instance, it did not. So then I proceed with just kind of protocol laceration repair.
When would it be a situation where you'd need somebody else to intervene?
If it required surgical
you ever
intervention,
get to the point?
suturing repair beyond my skill set, in this instance, it did not.
Okay. And so, referring to these particular injuries, when you observed them, did you observe any areas of active bleeding?
No.
And fair to say, they had been treated by nurses and other staff prior to you encountering these injuries, correct?
Yes, they were dressed and covered before I got there.
Now, when you assessed them, you noted that they were bilateral, correct?
Yes.
What does that mean?
It means on both sides of the body, so both wrists.
Okay. And so, referring to the right wrist, what were your observations of the injuries to the right wrist?
The right wrist, as far as my reference to the note, is that she had a few lacerations, one of which was severe and deep enough to require repair.
And fair to say that that right wrist injury was the one that you repaired was 3 centimeters deep.
Approximately, if that's what my note says, then that's what it was.
Okay. And on a wrist, or this area of the wrist where you observed the injuries, that depth of 3 centimeters, did that require further surgical intervention, or were you able to suture that area?
I was able to suture that area. As far as what happened subsequent to that, I wasn't there, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
There we go, Joy. You can leave it at
Just to do
3 centimeters.
Yeah, I think I'm throwing the inquiry flag here. I think there's some mistake going on here, because I think this is a guy who says, "Hey, do I need to?" Oh, sorry. This is a guy that needs to say, "Hey, do I just suture this, or do I send them off for reconstructive surgery?" There's no way, if that cut is more than an inch deep in the average wrist, that he's not sending them on for greater care than a couple of stitches. I'm sorry.
He said he could do that. He said he's trained to do, that's what his
I
job
mean, you're
is.
going through bony structures. You're going through cartilage.
No, but that's why it's severe.
Dr. Goldberg, help me here. Am I right?
That's yes, but okay. I think that the part that had to, I'll see if I can do it. The part that had to be sutured, where am I? There we go. Was 1.5 inches or 3.5 centimeters across. Right. That's where they consider deep. And then it was severe because of how deep it was going, as we talked about, in. That's what I think is what's going on here.
I mean, she said more than once the depth.
Right.
The depth.
Not just a deep cut, but she put a measure on it. Right. I don't know.
It's over 1.8 inches deep, and it may have been not so. It may have been not so cross, but it may have been like above the tendon. I can't hear.
Right.
Like maybe above the tendon.
I believe
here.
They are.
So you go right. You go here, and you just go down, and it's not hitting any. But it needed to be sutured. That's not a superficial attempt at killing yourself. No. That's a pretty deep wound.
That's 100% pretty serious. Yeah.
And what is bothering me, I'll announce, is that they keep saying superficial. But if you think about when you start to cut anything, a piece of meat, or hopefully not yourself, but you would start superficially. It starts and then it gets deeper and then it comes out. It's not a stabbing. It's
if you have an
laceration.
Amazingly sharp knife, if you have a Ginsu knife,
you might actually start.
You can just drag it across anything once and it's going to make a very deep cut.
Well,
I don't get the feeling that knife. I saw the knife. Well, I didn't see it in person, but I saw the pictures.
I saw the knife today. During a break,
but can you see how sharp it is?
No, so it's a big butcher's
knife. It's a big knife. Yeah.
There's still blood all over it. Kevin Reddington took it out. He was looking it over, and I love to notice these type of things. And I was like trying to see, how thick is, and I don't know how much they cook. I think really it's going to depend on how much did they use it before, because a knife can become dull. It doesn't mean she didn't try. She certainly did, because she went a lot. She did it a lot.
And to the doctor's point, the only time he used the word superficial was the neck slices.
Right. And I did love how Kevin Reddington said, you met with the prosecutor. I mean, you met with the Commonwealth.
They programmed you.
Yeah. And they said superficial. And he's like, yes, they did. So that was
said severe.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was so glad to hear him use the word severe, because we can see it's severe. You don't, a superficial, you're not getting sutured. You're not. And yes, they butterfly tape a lot of things, but they don't butterfly tape everything. If it was already healed or really, truly just superficial, it would already be, they may dress it, but they certainly don't have to put butterfly tape on it. I've cut myself by accident. I've had children cut them. I have a lot of them. So it's someone's cut themselves.
So we've heard.
And I've used butterfly tape, and you don't have to do the ones that are already taken care of. So there again, just keep downplaying it, which I think is wearing on the jury. To be honest.
I think you're right. And I think they could even use glue if it were truly superficial, right?
Yes. So that's protocol.
Okay. So let's get to the witness from what I've gleaned. The nanny. Give us the story.
So she came in with a presence. She's a tall woman, a confident woman. She came in. She didn't really make eye contact with Lindsay. Lindsay you could tell this is a different kind of witness because Lindsay reacted. And I think a lot of times people have been talking about Lindsay sort of being robotic. No, today she definitely wasn't robotic. She was answering. I heard her speak. She definitely reacted when the nanny came in. That's a personal person. You trusted them with your children. She was excellent on the stand. Excellent. She, again, with the prosecution downplaying stuff and or no context to what they're asking her, which is irritating because they wanted to play a video of Callan taking a bottle for the first time. And this was objected to. Lindsay instantly started crying. They did not win. They did show the video. And every person did react. This is the first real time I think that we've seen a video of the children. Have they played one before?
Except for the birthday party stuff. We saw the birthday party.
Right. So this was a moment, and they're saying, did you take a video of Callan taking a baby bottle? Now, if you pay attention to the rest of the trial, she talks about how she's having to stop nursing because she's going to take a medication. This is a really emotional moment for a lot of moms. And she writes about that in her journal, how she is devastated by it because this is her providing immunity to him. And he's going to be sick all winter. So if you remember when they read from her journal, that's really important. When the prosecution said it, oh, you took a video of him taking a bottle for the first time. Did you send it to Lindsay? And then they're asking those kind of questions without context. So that made me a little sad because you may not be a nursing mom, you may not be a mom, you may not have children or ever have been around somebody nursing. It can be a really emotional thing. So that would have provided more of context to, the whole situation at the time. They asked, what kind of mom was Lindsay? She was a, quote, wonderful mom. That was said more than once. Wow. And with a fond, she said it and you could feel that. She said it with gentleness. And Lindsay was at this point audibly crying because she had just watched the video of Callan. Also, they asked what each child was like. Cora was a girly girl. She was lovely. Callan was the sweetest, happiest baby. And then they sort of changed it up a little bit and said, how was Dawson around his siblings? Because it sounds like they're trying to make it like Lindsay couldn't handle Dawson as much. I've seen some of the Facebook posts out there that she's sort of asking for help and guidance. I think that was a little bit of a low blow but it did get turned around because they said it was asked, well, what happened when Dawson hit Callan after he took the Play-Doh from Cora? Well, Lindsay did a very appropriate thing. She removed gently Dawson from the situation. She went back and consoled Callan, and then she took care of Dawson. And they asked, was it a normal type of thing? Yeah, it was. She was a wonderfully normal mom. And that was made clear over and over again with the nanny's testimony.
Yeah, I think that stuff's critical because it supports everything we have not heard yet from the prosecution.
Yeah.
Because some sort of history of abuse or any sort of mistreatment. Nothing but the opposite. Her concern that her challenges, that Lindsay Clancy's challenges, are adversely impacting the kids.
Right. Again. Yeah, that was said again today. The journals the other day where she's, you're getting to hear what her thoughts were at the time. And then the nanny being such a big part of the family, they really established that she was there many days a week for a good chunk of the day. And then they also as a mom with young children, the way they said this, and other people heard it too, because it was discussed during breaks, not by the jury. They said, what was Lindsay doing when you were there? Was she home? Did she leave? And she said sometimes she went to the basement and exercised. Sometimes she took some time for herself and went out, kind of thing. And I'm thinking, what I wouldn't give for a couple hours with a nanny. I would do the same thing. And they kind of were making it, they almost made it sound like
that was evil somehow.
Yeah. Why would she do that?
She's trying to escape those kids. See, that explains everything. Yes. What about, how long was this nanny in the household? Just since Callan was born?
So she came to visit in July. She really started from September to November when Lindsay was supposed to go back to work. And then right after Thanksgiving, she was told that Lindsay was not going back to work. And Lindsay did confide in her about, some of the things. She did not know that Lindsay had gone to the ER a couple times. She had never mentioned psychosis to her, but she did mention that Lindsay mentioned that she was struggling with postpartum stuff. And but she again said she was a wonderful mom. She wasn't actively doing anything in the house that seemed off. And it just reinforced that something had to have gone wrong. It wasn't like she had been like lying in wait and planning some type of thing.
So Karen, let me ask you this, because the prosecution called her, and normally, the prosecutor would say, well, she had to say that because if she thought something was off, maybe she would feel responsible that this happened. Was there any hint the prosecution was trying to call her to get the stuff they thought they needed and then also blame her?
Yes, 100%. And it was, my thought was, this is your big like, this is your big, you're calling her? And when Reddington went up, he did something very interesting. He said, so you said to the state, he said the state police came to visit you on this day, and you said to them, you love Lindsay, and things like that, to make it clear that he didn't call her in, even though, but you kind of, sometimes people blend together, just to make it very clear that he didn't call in this witness because she was really good for the defense.
Yeah, I thought she might be. My question about the length of time can really cut both ways. You could either argue that, well, she didn't really know her that well, and her brief time with the defendant wasn't really telling of the whole time she had kids, culminating with Callan. That's one way to argue. The other is that everything she saw on its face made it seem like she knew her in the times where the mother would be most intimate with her kids and others, and she to some degree felt comfortable sharing with the nanny.
Yes, absolutely. And the most vulnerable. And they brought back in the notebooks, speaking of the times
we lost Karen for a second.
Freeze.
Oh no, am I back?
No, you're back. You're still a little there. You're back.
All right, so sorry.
No
a train went by. I don't know if there's any weird correlation. Who knows? I'm sorry if you can hear that. So they brought back in the notebook and said, because this is the person who was writing in the yellow notebook with the heart that said Callan Patrick Clancy. This is the person that they've been talking about, who was writing back and forth in the notebook with Lindsay, sort of making Lindsay into a controlling person. They were when they brought the notebook in initially, they're mentioning how she has times down to a T, and you must take a nap at this time, and you must cut the food up at this, in little squares and such. And they asked the nanny, how did you, basically, how'd you feel about that? Was that normal? She said it was perfectly normal and it was great and there was nothing wrong with it. And so again, boom to the Commonwealth. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what their case.
I'm
I don't
not
know
sure
what their
they know
case
what
did.
they're doing. Yeah.
Well,
It
are
doesn't
they
feel like
playing on the fact? I mean, you win or lose cases in jury selection. Do they
Right.
think they have a jury that's just going to say these are so terrible that maybe the second-degree murder, they're going to convict her of murder under the theory that it doesn't really matter. She's going to be in some mental health facility, whether it's in a prison mental health facility or in a regular, hospital for psychiatric diseased patients.
That's what I'm thinking. They have to think that because they're just not putting up a lot. And it was talked about today that their case is almost over. They could rest Monday. They could rest Tuesday. The people that are sort of left to call tomorrow, first thing, is the medical examiner. That's going to be the hard one. That one's going to be the really emotional one, other than the 911 phone call.
Yeah.
Why do they need to call? There's a prosecution won't stipulate to the causes of death of the children. No,
They won't stipulate to anything.
well, that could backfire on them.
The only thing they stipulated to really was the postmortems on the 3 children. Thanks for that.
And the DNA type
and the
of stuff.
DNA. So
they went back over it today.
That's why their stipulations have not meant a whole heck of a lot.
No, people are noticing that.
Kevin Reddington is happy to jump up and remind that there what are we doing? I loved when he was talking about the witness yesterday that found no fingerprints. Can't you just say we didn't find any fingerprints? Why would they put somebody on the stand that gave them 0? I don't understand that.
I don't know. I I don't know. I'm wondering.
Well,
What
hold on
made-
that thought. Why you think for a second? I just want to put this up there. And I wanted to, because Madeira Beach caregivers been following this case. She sent us a witness list today of who testified. She's great. She's our hospice nurse. She gifted 10 Justice TV memberships. And I just want everybody, they've already been given in the chat. Thank Madeira Beach. Thank her for her generosity. We'll get to the other super chats later, but I want to always give a call out to Madeira Beach because she is so gracious, so generous. And thank you, because she wants to put a light on the fact that we're talking, our show talks about postpartum psychosis as a real thing, not as something to be laughed at, as a real thing, so we can discuss it, we can learn from it, and that we can protect other women who may be showing signs of it, so people don't say, oh, that's just the baby blues, or that's just a woman's thing, or let her rot in prison because she killed her kids. This is a real issue we have to deal with in this country and in the world. The world is dealing with it. Apparently, we're not.
Better than we are. And that's why this case is, among other things, so important to just expose this. And I think we're getting very close to that actually happening, because obviously the Commonwealth hasn't cared about that and wouldn't want to help on that front. So Judge Sullivan has been pretty good at giving, some signposts as to where we are, what's happening. You suggest it could be done with the prosecution's cases of Monday. So what's been the latest from the judge on scheduling?
So tomorrow's a full day. He said, he came in immediately, said today was going to be, a half a day. Now the medical examiner was there today. So there was actually a lot of talk are they going to start with the medical examiner today? They ended up having a lot of private conversations at the very end of the day. And ultimately, I think they decided to just, instead of carrying it out for 2 days, let's just do it in 1 day. Cause that's the first person that's allegedly being called tomorrow. He said tomorrow's going to be a very full day. The defense let us know after trial that it sounds like the prosecution wants to call Lindsay's friends and Lindsay's ex-father-in-law. That's going to be interesting because I think his family supports her. Patrick has supported her. The friend part will be interesting.
So, and I think he said, as of yesterday anyway, Friday was likely to be a shorter.
Yeah, it sounded like that. He didn't quite get as far as Friday. He just sort of mentioned that he, again, is the one that controls the schedule. Don't take either side. And that tomorrow would be a full day in court. So I'm actually going to go back tomorrow.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I feel like we just keep getting closer and closer to the real case.
Yeah.
We're
I'm really looking forward to the mental health experts.
Yeah. I mean, that's the case.
Right.
I was talking with Mark Betterow last night about that. And all of this other stuff is really kind of getting in the way.
Right.
So
like blood on the shingles.
Yes. How about that? I mean,
who else would it have been?
They go back 5 months later to take the actual shingles.
That was a note. That was the note that I made. Like
that's got some evidentiary value.
And they even mentioned today that they couldn't actually establish DNA on one of them because
it was degraded and all. I mean, I don't know, snow, ice, wind,
right?
heat.
A couple seasons later. Yeah.
That's just crazy. Well, we really appreciate, Karen, you're getting in there and digging into this case. You do such an amazing job of sharing what you've learned from being in there. And as you know, it's just different being there.
It really is. It really and thank you guys so much. As I mentioned last time, I did lose a friend to postpartum psychosis. This was in 2005. Yes. Nobody talked about it. We were still kids having obviously we were adults, but we were still very young. All we knew, was very hush hush. And I had to learn a lot myself over the years. And one other thing is the book that Lindsay got, the Good Mothers Have
Scary Moments. Yeah, that one. Yeah.
That actually is commonly given out if you have any kind of even just baby blues, or you may be headed in a direction, or you have a history of, or prior to pregnancy you had that. It's a very common book. It's not as devious as it sounds.
Not as dark as they're making it sound.
No, and not at all. And that makes me sad because are there going to be women that are scared to go ask for help because they don't want to be judged by having to write in a journal? That's actually a very, they're going after her for these journals that she's been writing. That's a beautiful way to get your feelings out and not keep them in.
And I think that's backfiring as well. Reddington already pointed out so many things, and they're going to have those journals in there to flip through and read what they want to read. So
Thank goodness.
again, I think it's a prosecution mistake, but
Yeah.
what do
Me
I
too.
know?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll keep in touch because I have a feeling we may be visiting again.
I love that. Thank you guys
Great.
very much. I really appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Karen.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank
Have
you
a great night.
for doing this for us. We really so appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Thanks for the opportunity. Anytime,
bet.
really.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, we got a couple of stray things to pick up as we
Yeah.
close things out. What do you got? What do you got?
Well, first of all, I want to say subscribe, like, share, notify, because we saw the subscriptions. But we have 1,000 jewels. Cheers! That's
Cheers.
from Fancy Fact Finder.
Cheers.
Thank you very much. Cheers! Yeah, cheers. Poor Michael, he's been traveling all day. Just so you know, he's not in New York City, and he's not going to tell you
No,
where he is.
Not
but,
yet. I'm going to come up with a "Where in the
yeah.
World is Justice?" So get ready
Yeah.
for your mug opportunity.
Yes, that's right. And we don't mean like mugging. We mean like your mug. Okay.
Yes.
Let's see. Yeah, like World
Yeah,
World
like
is
that.
Justice.
Good
Like
for
this one. It's got
pens
all my
and-
pens and
other
yeah,
liquids.
and other liquids, right? Yes,
Diane Payne.
Yes,
Yes.
T4M 500 joules, and that equals
Thank
a
you.
watermelon. Thank you very much. We're trying to figure out these joules. All I know is that I love joules. I mean, keep sending me joules. I just love joules.
Yes,
you
we
know,
have
so-
to check the exchange rate, but yes, they're a very good thing, and we appreciate it.
And we have a serious question here. Okay. DD
Hmm.
2LD, please read the jury instructions. If found not guilty, she will be evaluated yearly. Yes, we know that, and could be released. I don't know how I feel about that. Is that justice for the children? Yes, she will. That's in every single state. In New Jersey, they call it the Kroll hearings. And usually once people are committed, they're there for a pretty long time with their psychiatric. And no matter what, let's face it, she is in her own prison, in her own hell. She is quadriplegic. She's never getting out of that. And, when she gets out, she could be like my client who once went to jail for the manslaughter of her child and always wanted to kill herself, always wanted to off herself, and then did. These feelings that's why they keep people in the psychiatric facilities for a long time. And that's why Andrea Yates is still there from 25 years ago.
Yeah. So, and I can see how people might think, well, that's a gift. But I, think it through. And Mark and I were talking last night, as you and I have, Linda, about what if she hadn't suffered any injuries? How would that spin the way people feel about this case, and the possibility that she would go to a facility until she was, quote, well, and then could literally walk out. So we don't have that scenario, but I understand how people might be concerned that, whatever gift she gets in the way of a, mental health facility sentence probably is not equal to a prison sentence. I get that.
Yeah, we get that. We understand that it's very common, but that's why I said this was a very serious comment, a serious question that we want to address. And then Hope ate fear. Remember, for 13 months, Linda and Michael, you two are sweethearts. The sweetest. Thank you very
I'm
much.
a sweetheart. I don't know. Come on.
Hey, it's just looking at me. Come on, you missed me.
I know. Yeah. I try to miss you as often as possible.
That's why you watch.
I'm kidding.
I know. That's it. Watch it. If you hadn't seen Mr. Betterow on last night, my co-counsel in a case involving a client that you all know, he was brilliant. I mean, I actually learned a lot of things. I watched it afterwards. And really, I think, Michael, you bring up the point, and I think we should bring it again. In the state of Massachusetts, for all the problems, the one thing they've done with this whole idea of this postpartum psychosis and this advancement of not culpable because you can't understand what you were doing at the time, you had postpartum psychosis, is that there's no burden of proof for the defense. Talk to us again before we leave the show.
Yeah, it's really a prima facie showing. Once they raise the issue, which will be done with their first witness probably, then it shifts the burden back to the prosecution to prove that she was not hampered and that therefore she did have the responsibility, criminal responsibility for what she did. It is a game changer. And as long as the jury understands that, great. But you really have to make sure they understand it is not the defendant's burden to prove that she was incapacitated in some way. That's on the prosecution to prove she wasn't. It's key.
Yeah. So very interesting. So hopefully you will see Michael Bryant tomorrow night. But tomorrow
Lori
we will
Mullen
be,
coming on tomorrow.
right? Yeah. And thumbnail's already up for that. Now the thumbnail will look the same for the morning when we start streaming, which it goes up about 8:45 in the morning, and at night. So it's going to be the same thumbnail, but there'll be different times. One will say 8:45, and then we'll stop, and then you will portal We
Yeah.
love that word. Into the nighttime show at 6 p.m. And I think there's going to be a lot of movement. And of course, I know you're all waiting to next week till we get to the defense case. But we want to bring a light on postpartum psychosis. Read all you can. Bring us your questions. Chat with each other in the room as to, would you feel differently if she had postpartum psychosis, but she didn't try to off herself? All right. Because that's something to be reckoned with if we're going to deal with postpartum psychosis as a real thing.
Yep, that is for sure. Well, a pleasant surprise to have you pop on tonight, partner. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, then. Did you do your like, share, do all that?
Subscribe, please subscribe. I'm going to give you a second. We wanted to be to 40,000. We're about 1,900 short. Can all of you just hit subscribe who are not subscribed here? If
Ready,
you're watching this show,
go.
Go. Yeah, go. Come on, let's go. You can do it better than anybody else, right? And all. For the free content, subscriptions are free. Memberships cost money, but Michael Bryant pours his heart out for membership content for all of you. That is really great, and I appreciate
I think we're going to do something this week on maybe that other case you might have some involvement with, or on the trial brief for the upcoming case.
Either way, I don't think I could be involved in those two discussions.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Maybe you need a sidekick that is like, okay, tonight is going to be co-hosted by someone who's not involved in the
Totally
whole case
disconnected.
we're covering, right? Totally
Yeah,
disconnected.
well, one or two of those things probably pop up this weekend, maybe as member first. We'll see. But yeah, we work on stuff. We try and give you members a little something.
All right, so it's a lot. Subscribe, like, share, notify, and then hype the episode you like. And then Michael Bryant will give you the last words out.
Okay, how about have a great evening, everybody. Appreciate you joining, and try to do the right thing.